go. Okay. Brian, nice to see you here. Glad you could make it this afternoon. Look, I finally updated my styling back to my brand colors instead of having the black. Nice to see you here, James from Vegas, and good afternoon from Texas, John as well. So I have a handful of things I want to talk about today in the live stream. It's a busy time in smart home tech and Apple as we're leading up to, for the smart home space, the IFA show in Berlin. I think there's a lot of companies who are getting ready to do things before, during, after that show. And then, of course, Apple has their big fall iPhone event, the release of iOS 18, and now we have the betas for iOS 18.1 as well this week. And I have that on my iPad. I wanted to play with it a little bit live just here and see how it goes. So let me go ahead and get this queued up on the screen here. Let's see. There we go. Cool. So here is my, hold on. I actually need to go into, okay, good, cool. So here is the article that I wrote for my article, I guess. I don't know, whatever. It's my newsletter that I sent out earlier this week about, is Matter ready for your smart home? So have it here in Apple Notes, and I'm going to just use the writing tools here. So I can just select it, go writing tools. Let's choose, I can have it, make a table about it, a summary. So we can just try the summary one. And there it has a Matter, a universal smart home standard, has been gaining traction in the industry. Despite initial challenges with early devices, are showing new crop of Matter devices showing promise. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I think that makes sense. I'm going to give feedback here. Oh boy, then it's going to do a whole feedback thing. Don't want to do that right now. Probably good to do that if you're on a developer beta, but not right now while I'm live streaming all this. We can proofread it, see what grammatical mistakes I made. I love the animations here with some of this stuff. It's really fun how it turned out with that. And I can actually, let's see here. So it has 5 suggested changes. We could go through those, although going through unnecessary punctuation. Okay. Yep. Maybe don't need that comma. So, yeah, TP link. I don't think that needs to be hyphenated. So then I can say, how do I choose if I want it to change it? Do I choose that? Yeah. And then it's hitting that little tiny little button there for the thing down at the bottom that's like a little circle with lines on it. All right, so watching me, and I guess I can hit done. All right, watching me go through proofreading is probably like watching paint dry, so we're not going to actually do that today. But let's go ahead and select it and see what else we can do with the writing tools. Maybe I can make a list. All right. That's cool. Wow. So then it makes this list now. The UI here didn't quite line up something there, but it's a really cool animation. But man, it just rewrites everything as a list. And if I want to revert, let's hit revert because I want to just try back from the original and see what happens. So let's try again. We can have it. Let's do a more friendly tone and see what it does for that. Remember all the buzz about Matter in 2022? Well, it was a big deal at CES 2023. I even made a video about it. It's funny. Um, so that's the friendly tone. I'm gonna revert that and choose. Uh, let's see what it. The table probably doesn't really make sense in this case. Let's see what it does for concise. Some of these animations aren't quite, or the graphics, of course, it's a developer beta 1 of a beta of a beta almost, with 18.1. So it's pretty raw, hot off the press, I guess you could say. Yeah, okay. Anyways, it's probably not too interesting to watch me edit text with this, but I've played around with 18.1 a little bit, but not as much as I think some other creators have. But I wanted to just give it a shot here, kick the tires, and see what happens. So yeah, and there's the article it came from. One thing, if we go back to, or let's see, let me make sure I'm not missing anything in the chat. Hey, Vivian's Tech Reviews. What's new in the HomePods with iOS 18, HomePodOS? I haven't really seen anything. I know tvOS has gotten a bunch of updates. I've been wary of doing any of the public betas or developer betas this year on HomePods or Apple TVs. I will probably sometime soon, just to start to check out the new features. But yeah, I haven't heard of much. I mean, the HomePods don't really have the horsepower to do a lot of the new Apple Intelligence stuff. I think it is kind of interesting how Apple seems to be considering the HomePods more as a smart speaker, maybe akin to something like Sonos, rather than, let's say something like a Rabbit R1 or, some kind of an AI device, right? It's meant more to just be an interface, very simple interface to your smart home and playing music. And it's more about the sound and, of playing music and having multi-room audio and some benefits around things like alarm detection, of course, that they added last year. But yeah, as much as I would love to see Apple add some of that stuff to the new HomePods, I don't think it's coming anytime soon. I think it'll require new hardware and maybe something that's not just a speaker, maybe something that's more of a display, but we'll see. On the news front, there's a lot of new devices coming out. One that I don't have time to get to in terms of reviewing, but looked interesting to me is the hold on, I should have had this link pulled up, but some of you guys who tune in the live stream and are on the bleeding edge of smart home tech, maybe this would be interesting to you. Maris has a presence sensor available for pre-order. We had a question on a previous live stream about companies other than Aqara that make presence sensors. This one works with Matter as well as Apple Home and everything. All the the three big smart home platforms. So yeah, I probably won't get to reviewing this. I will say, definitely keep your eyes peeled for just news about new products. I think there's a lot of stuff coming in the next while. So, yeah, and this just looked cool to me. And I think if you're into getting the latest smart home tech, maybe this is something you needed a heads up on or wanted a heads up on. So, wanted to mention it here. And then let's go back and see if there's any other questions. I do also want to share about this thing I was posting on Instagram. I came into my office this morning and there was like a scratching noise. But we had some really rough storms here last night. Not as bad as we had about a month ago, but definitely some serious rain. And I think that's probably what got that little critter down here in the window well. So just got an Akara U100. Loving it so far. Yeah, I guess the U100 came out last year, but I still think of it because it's home key lock. It's like, this is like the year of home key locks. So I just, in my brain, it came out this year, but yeah, the fingerprint reader is a very easy method of unlocking. I agree. And then it's like, you don't even have to remember, oh, is my phone charged? Or, because your phone can do home key on very low battery, including even when it's like can't even boot the rest of the phone, you can actually use it. But it's nice that, your finger doesn't run out of battery. The lock, of course, can. And so keeping that charged before you leave town for a while or something. But yeah, the fingerprint sensor is really great on the U100. And it's something to consider if you're looking at different locks that support home key and things like that. The U50, of course, is a little bit cheaper, but doesn't include the fingerprint sensor. So great point, Chris. Thanks for bringing that up. Ryan's asking what's new with tvOS. So I'm going to pull up the page from Apple to add some visual aids. And I will probably make a video going into actually my thoughts and experiences on this. I thought, yes, here we go. So, okay. I really get annoyed by, especially when I'm trying to do something like this. There's this feature, maybe you've seen it, where Google will try and highlight the thing that you're looking for on the page. I get the idea. And it's like this web standard where they can add it at the end of the URL. I get the idea, but it can be kind of annoying when you're trying to quickly show something. So you have the Insight feature coming to Apple TV, which is cool. Not as much home related, but kind of handy. A friend of mine, developer Casey Liss, he has a really great app called Call Sheet that does a similar thing. Of course, Insight only works, doesn't work on things like Netflix. It only works, I think, on Apple TV shows and shows that are compatible with the Apple TV app. But it will show you star information, actor information, and just details about the show. Of course, an app like Call Sheet will go way more into detail about that stuff. There's also more improvements to enhancing dialogue. That was previously a feature that was only for if you had the full-size HomePods with an Apple TV. So now you'll be able to do it without. There's also some more lock screens. So basically, or screensavers. So they have Snoopy and a handful of others that will play. You can have them play instead of those aerial screensavers. I prefer just the aerial screensavers that we already have. I think those are great. Oh yeah, now you can support 21:9 movies. So I'm trying to remember if I missed anything here, but of course, then we've talked about on previous live streams, if you happen to tune in as well, there's a whole bunch of stuff coming for, of course, the home key new express mode, because home key already today has an express mode where you can add the, just tap your phone or your watch. That's called express mode, where then it will bring up the home key and unlock the door with passive NFC. But they're adding a new express mode where you just walk near the door with a ultra wideband capable lock, which are not available yet. And it's a way down the road feature, but of course Apple announced it for various reasons at WWDC. I covered that in a previous edition of my newsletter of why I thought Apple did that. But then they also have all this stuff around guest access, and then you can customize guest access to different doors or security systems or other things in your home and when they're allowed. Some of that stuff I haven't seen actually come into my betas yet, but I don't think it's really available yet, and maybe it requires certain hardware. We'll just have to see as time goes on what the details are there. But I think it's a very convenient feature. I mean, a lot of locks and security systems and things have had ways to add guest users for a while, but it's been limited to that particular manufacturer's stuff. And so to have it built into something like Apple Home would be really nice. So it's kind of about time that Apple caught up in that area compared to other smart home platforms. So that'll be great. And yeah, and then this is kind of a continuation on last year. If you remember, they have you can do the widget, as well as there's a report in the Home app for when your grid has clean energy. Here, let me see if I can actually pull this up really quick. So I know not everybody lives in an area where this is reported, but here I'm in this is actually, I mean, in iOS 18.1, but this feature that I'm showing is actually in iOS 17, but it shows like a grid forecast of like at 11 p.m. tonight, the energy where I am will start to be from cleaner energy sources. And I think it's basically APIs from various power companies that hook up to it. And apparently some of this stuff that is in this grid here is already available to PG&E customers out in California. So Pacific Gas and Electric, I guess, has some kind of a setup now with Apple where you can see this. I don't live out there, so I haven't seen this. But yeah, that should be good to have some more sort of energy monitoring and usage stuff in the Home app. We could go on and on about probably all kinds of little details of stuff that I'll break down in videos and show better than just ad-libbing about it live. The other thing that I'm really excited about, though, for the rumors around tvOS is that the tvOS, I think it was 9 to 5 Mac, or maybe it was either 9 to 5 Mac or Apple Insider. I think 9 to 5 Mac discovered this plasterboard sort of code inside of tvOS, which looks like it's to run some kind of a smart home display. Now, it's unclear on whether that would come anytime soon. It might be something as far away as, let's say, like next fall, so fall of 2025 or even later. But plasterboard, of course, is a term that's also used in certain parts of the world as drywall. If you live in the U.S., you might. So it makes sense that Apple would call it plasterboard because, like, the system on your phone for all of the icons is called Springboard by Apple, like internally, and so and they have a couple other boards, I think, like similar names, and so having a plasterboard for something related to home and home display makes sense. So you can start to see traces of things like that in the code creeping in. I haven't gone like diving into the code myself like that, but plenty of people online do after every beta comes out. So that's where those kinds of things surface. I've always had on my list to get into doing that stuff, but I haven't always had the time. I do plan to have a few more intersections, though, of like my app development and smart home tech coming in the future, but that's upcoming stuff. So let me get back to your questions. I really went long on that. Thank you, Ryan, for that question about tvOS and what's new with tvOS. Yes, and thank you, Brian, for answering a lot of things. Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing, good point, Brian. The biggest feature coming is that you can select your favorite home hub, so that there has to be one of your home hubs in your home that's like the primary home hub that makes all the decisions. And so with iOS 18 and iPadOS 18, you'll be able to set which one you want for that, which is really cool. What's been the best? Good question, Alan. Thanks for joining the live stream. what's been the best addition to your smart home in 2024? Man, that is a, I'm gonna think about this for a second. Hold on. Not product placement at all. I just need something to drink. You know, I'm going to have to go with a couple different ones. But I think if I had to pick the one that was like the most convenient and helpful for everybody in my, or at least the adults in my family, it would be the concept of the Ecovacs T30 combo, which is a vacuum Ecovacs sent me that has the combo of a robot vacuum base station and then a handheld vacuum that just docks right next to it. It's always charged. It has a handful of attachments. Now, my family, we do not have one of those cordless vacuums that sort of docks on the wall. You know, of course, Dyson famously makes one, and a handful of other people. So if I already had one of those, maybe I wouldn't find this quite as convenient. But I do really like having that cordless vacuum where it always goes in the same place. We always know where it is. It's always charged. It has the attachments right there. It's sort of like that all-in-one vacuuming station. Now, it does kind of take up a little more space out in the open area of your room where you have to put the vacuum station. But again, I've just found having that vacuum ready to go. And it's a pretty good vacuum too, as far as a cordless vacuums go. I mean, you can probably tell I don't review cordless vacuums on my channel. I'm not an expert at the latest, but I mean, it performs well for us. So that's been definitely a big improvement. Now, I should caveat, we already have, things like home key locks. I did a ton of Sonos speaker additions to my home last year, and so I'd probably list those up there with tech for last year. So it's kind of just caveated by like what happens to show up in my house this year. And then I think one of the other like themes this year, I've talked about a couple times in this live stream how smart locks are very common this year. A lot of cool smart locks are coming out. But another thing that I've noticed a lot in our home specifically, sorry, the sub pump below me is going off, pumping out water from the storm. So hopefully that doesn't interrupt the audio, but it's accent lighting. So, Govi's had a handful of accent lights that I've played with, or lamps like their Govee Floor Lamp Pro, or the light bars, or then also I just recently reviewed the Matter GE light, the GE Sync Matter kitchen lights. I'm working on a review of the Nanoleaf outdoor string lights. There's a whole lot of these improvements of different form factors of accent lighting that have really come into their own. I think, once we got that technology of LED lights that can shine in different colors across the LED light strip. So that was, I think, really like a 2022 kind of innovation. But like since then, that has led to that same technology, I think, taking on a bunch of different forms and creating a bunch of different types of lights and things. And so you can really give your living space like a whole new look by having these accent lights that then can be smart and turned on with different scenes or other things. And that's like another benefit of smart home tech too, is that when you trigger those, you can, without smart home tech, it would be such a pain to turn on a lot of these accent lights that you probably almost, never do it. But with smart home tech, you can link those up with, you hit a button on the wall, let's say, and then it triggers a scene that does your accent lighting and your overhead lights, or however you want to set the scene for that particular situation. And that can be really nice as a way to just add some more ambiance to the room. And that's always been true. But I just think we're starting to see more and more form factors of those kinds of lights. And because Matter is becoming more common, we as generally, I'm an Apple Home user, like there's more and more of that stuff that works with Apple Home with Matter. And that was what my newsletter was getting to this week is basically that, like, when Matter first came out, it was really rough and buggy, and I think a lot of people had a lot of challenges. Provided you have the new home architecture and you have IPv6 enabled on your network, Matter's not perfect, but there's a lot more, in my experience, of the lights and other things that I'm adding to my home that use Matter are getting more and more stable. So, so the combo vacuums and then all kinds of accent lighting, whatever would fit your home, I think are two big things that I've noticed a real difference in my smart home this year. UWB was making me hesitant to purchase smart lock right now, Chris. Yes, I think you made the right decision, Chris, getting the U100 or just like a smart lock now. You're probably going to have years before that new technology stabilizes to the point where you'd want to get one of the new locks, and then maybe you'd be ready to upgrade, or even then, you've already had like multiple years with your home key lock that you just bought, and so I think you'll probably be good on into the future. And sometimes it's not the worst thing not always having the latest. I mean, you still have a lock that's really nice with home key. So it's that time again. The air purifier went off in the live stream. I still need to fix that. The way electric companies run, I guess, yes. The grid monitoring stuff will probably have to wait until 2030. That and your digital ID in Apple Wallet. It's one of the things I like though about I'm sure Steve Jobs would have. I don't want to get into the what would Steve Jobs do kind of thing, but it's one of the things I like about the Tim Cook era of Apple is that they've taken on some of these massive bureaucratic challenges of things like, well, what if your phone could have your driver's license inside of it? Or what if you could use your phone to quickly pay for your subway ticket? And the subway express mode is on like most transit systems in big cities across the world now, at least in Europe and the US. Here in Chicago, you can get on the CTA by just tapping your phone with the Ventra card or even just an Apple Pay card. So, and that's been here a while. Yeah, and things like this integrating with electric companies, like, it's annoying how long it takes to actually get support for these kind of things. But I think it's great that Apple's pursuing them. So we'll see. Yeah, that don't require a keypad. I do think, like, yeah, I think I've been looking at different smart home locks and stuff, and one of the things I've been thinking about with looking at all these different locks is just, especially with the retrofit ones, but a lot of them, there's the inside part, the part that goes inside your home is often so big. And of course, Level has bolts that integrate inside of your lock or replace your deadbolt. And that's really cool too. But at the same time, it's like, in my experience, the Levels haven't always had as stable of a connection because they're kind of buried inside the door. And so it's a balance of like things that sit maybe like, but are just the size of the deadbolt, but then are able to connect. And of course, now I haven't tried Levels bolt, basically the one that replaces your entire deadbolt. I have not tried that one. I've just tried the bolt that goes inside your lock. But yeah, I think there's room for some of these companies to make smaller locks. I mean, of course, the ones that are bigger, they work fine. They're great, but it looks nice if you can make them small. So yeah, it's definitely something to consider. I mean, like the U200 that Aqara came out with, the U200 is massive, but has a lot of features and a lot of cool other things. So trade-offs, I guess you could say. Yes, the Level Lock Plus is definitely very nice looking. Here we can pull that up. So for those who are not familiar. This is level. It's actually, I'm pretty sure it's some former Apple, former folks from Apple who founded Level. But then this is like the one that just replaces the inside of your lock. I've tried that before. One other thing to keep in mind with Level is that they cram their battery in the bolt, and so you might need to drill a bigger hole in your door frame to get that bolt to go through, depending on your setup. It's not hard, but just something else to keep in mind. So yeah, and then they have, these are the ones that go inside the door, but then of course they have the Level Lock Plus, which is what we were just talking about, which of course is much smaller than a lot of the competition. So maybe one of these days I'll check it out. Of course, it does support home key. So and this is another thing too. I've been playing with. Aqara has this as well. For about $10, you can get these little NFC tags that then you can put in front of the door, and because the lock can read NFC, you can just use that tag to get into the house. And so that can be handy if you have people coming to your home. You want to give them quick access to your home in a way that's like giving them a key, but maybe a little bit more fun and convenient. These NFC tags that some lock manufacturers sell. So if you have an Aqara lock, you can get theirs. Of course, Level sells some. I think other lock manufacturers make them. I don't think Schlage does. But yeah, you can check out the little NFC tags, handy addition. And then one downside of the Level is that the keypad is not built into the lock. So one of the things I like about, let's say, Aqara and Schlage is that they have like a keypad on the lock on the door, which then is like, all integrated right there. You can then, instead of having to give someone a key, you can just give them a code and then they get in, of course. And you can restrict those codes and things like we were talking about earlier. So yeah, that's Level. Let's see. Go back here to the chat. All right. Thumbs down. What's up with that? All right. We've been going about 30 minutes. I just want to give you guys a quick preview of what's coming up. You'd rather... Thanks, Garen. It's nice to see you here today. Rather have the keypad separate from the lock. That's a good point. There are times when you might not want the lock and the keypad all together on the door. So, for some people it's a bug, for other people it's a feature. Just something to consider. But just quick preview of what's coming up in terms of videos from this channel. There will be no video this weekend from me, but I will have a video coming out early next week that basically would have been the video for this weekend, but is coming out early next week for other reasons. And then the following weekend, there will be no live stream, but I will finally be posting, hopefully, if everything goes according to plan, my video around the Nanoleaf string lights. That has been an ongoing project through like the whole summer. It's taken a ton of time, just setting those up, researching it, all the different challenges I've had through that. So they're really cool lights though. So I think it'll be, the video itself didn't take like a ton of time to make, but getting to the point where I could make a video on those lights has taken a while. So I think that'll be some fun lights to consider, especially as we get into, at least in North America, the holiday season coming up. Could be nice to have another way to have some fancy lights around your home, and then also just for future warmer weather times. I've been surprised, and I'll mention this in that video, but how much it's also fun with things like those string lights to have them on while you're inside. I always thought of them when I bought them as like, actually, I correct that. Nanoleaf sent me these lights for free, but I had this in mind that we would enjoy them when we're outside, but it's also nice to just have on some of these colors and things outside your home while you're inside. So, you know, a use case that I hadn't really thought about, but makes sense once I got it rolling. So, and this is actually another heads up. This is an old merch shirt from when I have previously sold shirts around the channel. I have some clever ideas, I think, of some new merch shirts and stuff coming up. So stay tuned for that probably in the next couple weeks. I've been playing with different samples, and I think I have some stuff that should be pretty fun coming soon. So that's kind of a quick preview of some of the stuff coming up here around the channel. Thanks for tuning in to the live stream. And one more thing, if you're looking for more stuff to watch on YouTube, I actually discovered this video earlier today, and the Hookup posted it yesterday. And I know a handful of you guys have been asking about Rail-Link cameras. And
with a Rail-Link NV,
this video is amazing. He does a tier list of every single Rail-Link PoE camera, or at least a lot of the recent ones. It's mind-blowing too, like just how many cameras Rail-Link has. But if you're looking for more content to watch on YouTube, of course you're watching me right now, but go check out this video from the Hookup. Amazing, and just must have taken him, speaking of videos that must have taken him an incredible amount of time to make. This was must have been very time consuming, and great value in this video. So go check that out if you haven't already. And thanks for watching. I'll see you guys soon.